It's obviously KD. Like anyone who would say it's Giannis, I understand an argument for Giannis, but you're being a prisoner of the moment. Like KD has been, if not the best or the most talented, been the second best player in the league for much of his career after LeBron. So I think that his legacy is going to be great. And we normally measure legacies by championships, right? That's what we do. All the time, we count the rings. KD got more. He got 2 championships and 2 MVPs. He's got 4 scoring titles. The only people with more scoring titles than him are a guy named Michael and a guy named Will. And if those are the only people who have scored more than you or had won more scoring titles than you, you're in a great position. He's been dominant. And it's not only that he's won more championships and that he's won more championship MVPs. It's also that he's had big moments after moments in these playoffs just this past season. And also, we can go back to when y'all was teammates back in 11 and 12. He was cooking. Like, he just had so many memorable moments. We don't have to go back that far. We can just go back to how he was single-handedly pretty much going at the Bucks. And if it weren't for a quarter of an inch, he might be winning a championship right now. And I'm pretty sure your tune would be a lot different. So I respect Giannis. He's done a lot. He's grown a great deal since he's been in the league, and he's become one of the preeminent stars. But let's not shortchange KD just because of this prisoner of the moment type recency bias that we're falling into right now.
Well, first of all, Nick, let me say this. Let me start off. Before I address you, let me say this. Kevin Durant, in my eyes, is the best scorer to ever touch the damn basketball. Let me get that out the way. But when the question was asked, that I asked and put on my social media, it was about legacy. It wasn't about who was the better basketball player. I believe KD is the better basketball player, but when you talk about a legacy, you talk about the story of that individual. So it's almost like writing a book on this individual, and you're going in chapters about their career. When you look at Giannis and what he just accomplished, forget that he won MVP and Defensive Player of the Year last year, along with winning the NBA championship and winning the Finals MVP, joining the company of Michael Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon, the only 3 players to ever do it. Forget the fact that he was drafted number 15, I believe it was, to the Milwaukee Bucks, who he came in a year later that a franchise was built around Jabari Parker, who was the number 2 pick for the Milwaukee Bucks a year before that. Forget that Giannis wasn't playing his first couple years that many minutes. He was coming off the bench. Forget that no one in the world knew that Giannis would be this great of a player. Forget all that. We're talking about the story, right? Giannis, just think, 2 years ago against the Toronto Raptors, he was down 0-2 in the series. He lost that series. He had an opportunity to leave and go join somewhere else to try to win the championship. No, he stuck through it. He worked hard. He delivered a championship right to the Milwaukee Bucks this season. They haven't done that in 50 years. Hold on, Domonique. They haven't done it in 50 years since Kareem and Oscar Robertson was there. Okay? This is what I'm about to... This is what I'm about to dive into. When you look at legacies and you look at stories, I'm going to give you a couple examples of a few. You look at Kobe Bryant, right? You look at the 5 championships, right, that he won with the Los Angeles Lakers. He only won 1 MVP, 1 regular season MVP. In that run with Shaq, when they three-peated, he didn't win a finals MVP. You know when Kobe Bryant, when his legacy took off, is when Shaq left and he was able to win 2 without Shaq. He went through some rough patches with the Los Angeles Lakers, and he won 2 along with 2 finals MVPs. He stayed with the organization. He battled. He went through the trenches. Look, you go to LeBron James. He left Cleveland. Went down to South Beach, won 2 championships. Could have went anywhere. Could have stayed down there and probably won 3 more. But in his mind, he was writing his book. and he knew a chapter was still missing. A chapter was still open. He wanted to go back to Cleveland. Why? Because LeBron James strived for greatness. One, he wanted to deliver a championship for the city of Cleveland and the state of Ohio where he's from. But two, in the back of his mind, he knew he had unfinished business and that would be held against him far as his legacy. Now, I'm not knocking KD 2 championships, but we will always have an asterisk. People will always talk about KD blowing the 3-1 lead in Oklahoma and going join the Golden State Warriors, who beat them, a 73-9 team. There will always be a chapter in this book. So when I talk about legacies, I'm not talking about the better basketball player.
Right.
I'm talking about their story, their journey to get where they at.
I think you did a great job defining legacy, because you're right. I think there's no argument about who's the better basketball player. We all understand that KD is a better basketball player. And you said he's the greatest scorer that's ever touched the ball. That's a pretty damn good legacy to start with, even without the championships that he's won, or the scoring titles, or the finals MVPs, or the league MVP. Like, even without all the all NBA teams, even without all that, just being the greatest scorer to ever touch the ball is a hell of a place to start for a man's legacy. But this is where you lose me. You ascribe so much value to staying in the city that drafted you. And I know a lot of people do. They're wrong, and you're wrong. Like, just because you stayed and won in Milwaukee does not make your championship any more valuable to me. And I understand, you're right. The legacy is about the story that we tell. And Giannis has an outstanding story. It's incredibly impressive. I love it. He's going to have a great legacy. He may go on to win more and more championships. And the story of him coming from Greece all the way to America, a Nigerian born individual, to do all of that is a great, great story. From selling CDs on the sidewalk to winning in the finals and blocking key shots. That is a beautiful story. But I don't have any problem with teams having to build to win a championship. Like, that's what we're talking about, is how it's not like Giannis did this without them bringing in other players. Like, they had to bring in other players for them to build around. Moves had to be made. Moves had to be made, right? So KD, he made the moves. Nothing's wrong with that. You brought up Shaq earlier. I'm not going to diminish Shaq because he didn't win in Orlando. I don't care about that. Shaq was great.